All right, everybody. Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert. And I'm joined as always by JD by God Oliva. Thank you for sticking around. How you doing, JD?
I didn't watch the show because I didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night. I had to meet and I had to put the kid to bed. So I was gonna make it a bit, but I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to everybody. Mike, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
just like educate me, and I'm gonna listen and
Oh,
react to tonight's show. So I'm
yeah.
gonna I'm putting it out there for everybody. I'm not gonna lie to the people. Wrestling season is busy for me, so I'm a bad podcast host.
It's all good. I watched every ounce of the show in detail, so I can kind of comment on what. And you just tell me what you think of
Okay.
what I tell
Yeah.
you. But before we get into the recap portion of the show, I'd like to dedicate the podcast today to one of the all-time great characters and great color men, and one of the faces of TNA slash Impact Wrestling. One of my all-time favorites, Don West. He lost his battle with cancer just last week, shortly after we got done recording our podcast that we had already posted. So rest in peace, Don West, man. What a great dude.
The word character gets thrown around, but Don West was like a legitimate character, right? Like the giant ball of energy from selling baseball cards on, was it QVC or Home Shopping Network? That I
It was
always
called the
forget.
shop. It was like a secondary version or like a
Was
third
it?
tier. Like it was called the Shop at Home Network. I think it was a
Okay.
cable channel. Yeah.
I couldn't remember where, but I remember watching him try to sell me baseball cards, being like, this dude's a madman. Like,
Yeah.
and when he became a pro wrestling announcer, I remember thinking, this is perfect. Like, this guy is perfect for pro wrestling. And he
Hmm.
was. Like, you were never going to see someone who had the kind of, and it wasn't fake with Don West, like that kind of
No.
energy and enthusiasm. It was just him. And I think he's a guy in his era we didn't appreciate because it was so different than what the
Hmm.
other guys were doing. But as you look back on it, you really can say, you know what? Don West was his own guy, right? And sometimes like what is not done on that other channel gets looked down on because just for being different. And
Yeah.
I think people have come around to how great Don West was. And like he was part of the charm that even those ugly years of early Impact, right? Having Don there really made it fun, and the world's a worse place without Don West.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I was like in my early 20s when Don West was around. So I thought he was awesome. So I think guys my age and younger loved Don West. I was disappointed when Taz came in and took over, although I understood it. I think at that point he probably ran its course. They needed to switch things up a little bit, and Taz was a bigger name in the wrestling industry, so they brought him in, but they still kept him around to sell merchandise. But I think some of the older fans during that time, guys that were a couple generations ahead of us, they didn't really like Don West because he was so different, and so they would trash him like, oh, he's not technically proficient, he doesn't know the names of the holds, he doesn't know this, doesn't know that. No, he was a fan, and he brought a ton of energy, and he made everything he talked about better. He made everything funner. And you know who does that to now, who is the modern day Don West? It's Pat McAfee, right? He's not a wrestling expert, he's not a wrestling historian, but he watches the show like a fan, and he gets really into it. He's super energetic, and everything he says is believable. Like I believe that he's excited about that. That's what I thought about Don West. Like he made every move, every hit, every flip, every dive, every chair shot. He made it 10 times better than it really was. Like he sold it to me. You know what I mean?
I never understood why Don had to be that guy when he's sitting next to Mike today, who's the
Yeah.
king of being that guy. And that's why they worked together. Because Mike was the encyclopedia and Don was the big energetic, crazy guy. Like the
Mm,
dichotomy is what works. You can't have two guys being the exact same, right? It doesn't
right.
make for an entertaining I almost said podcast. It almost doesn't make for an entertaining show. But those again, believe me, where this is an Impact podcast, we've seen some ridiculousness come and go. Like, but they made it work, and
Mhm.
their contributions to the presentation carried this show through a lot of dark stories and dark years. Like,
Yeah.
imagine how bad a lot of that stuff is without Don West, right?
Hmm.
Like, again, it's a lot of those guys that hang out on, like the board who have no fun,
Right.
the infamous board, if you know, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I I don't know, man. I always appreciated the guy. Like,
Yeah. Me too.
because again, TNA had to be different than WWE, and that was one of the ways they were different. And it was Mike and
Hmm.
Don. It wasn't JR and the King or whatever. That's why it was quite frankly, better in my opinion in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think so. They a lot of times they didn't have good stuff to work with, but but they made that stuff better and they made it passable. It's almost like because they put the lyrics to the music, right? So hey, the
Yeah.
music's bad, but you have a good lyricist. Sometimes you can get away with it, or vice versa. Sometimes if the guitar riffs and the drums are really good, and you don't have good lyricists, Limp Bizkit. Sometimes you get away with that, and you can do really well, but whenever they came together, man, whenever they were putting their lyrics to an awesome match, nothing was better, in my opinion. And some of the all-time classic moments, Elix Skipper up on the Six Sides of Steel doing the Hurricane Rana off the top. Kurt Angle's, the announcement of Kurt Angle's debut, just him
Mm-hmm.
going crazy. Jeff Hardy's moves, doing the Swanton, just that's freaking insane. Like Don West he was just the man, dude.
He
I
was the
loved him
man.
so much. And he's sorely going to be missed.
Mike, you're the man for being man enough to stop this pretending that Limp Bizkit stuff was good. Like, I've hated this reinvention where everyone was like, "Oh no, Limp Bizkit was actually a really good band," and I'd sit there and go, "Dude, I'm in my 40s. I can tell you for a fact, Limp Bizkit sucked 20 years ago, and they suck now. We need to stop pretending." Thank you, sir.
Oh, well, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to send you a picture of me in high school when I'm like 16, 17 years old
With a stupid
with
red hat on or something like that.
no, I had blue hair. I had a ball chain necklace and a Limp Biscuit shirt with a backwards red hat. There for a couple years, they were like my favorite band. But then as I got into my 20s, like because their first couple of
Yeah.
albums, if you didn't really pay attention to what Fred
Oh, they
Durst
were
was
huge.
saying,
Yeah.
the music part of it, right? Like Wes Borland is a great guitar
Great
player.
guitar
Like he's
player.
not all, you know what I mean? Like the fucking guy from House of Pain, the DJ. What was
Mm-hmm.
his name? I can't. DJ Lethal.
Lethal.
Good
Yeah, yeah.
DJ. The drummer, good drummer. You know what I mean? So the
Mhm.
music was always pretty good. The arrangement was always good. You had Fred Durst, who has a decent voice and he can scream really well, but the lyrics were fucking horrendous. There's some of the cheesiest fucking lines you ever hear in your life. So as you start to get a little bit older, it's like, wow, this guy's saying some stupid shit. This is like bubblegum pop bullshit with cuss words. It
That's
sucks.
exactly what it was. It
But you
was
know what? Like every
angry rap rock for suburban teenagers.
yeah, it was screaming ass Taylor Swift with cuss words. That's what it was. And but there's still some songs that when it comes on to my Spotify, I don't skip them every once in a
Break
while.
stuff is a jam. I will always I'll tip my cap to that one.
Yeah. But yeah, again, rest in peace, Don West. You're going to be sorely missed. And JD, you missed out on a decent TV show. We'll go ahead and
That
start out
figures.
on we'll go ahead and start out on BTI. Well, you probably didn't miss out on the main event segment, but we'll get into that a little
Can't
bit
wait.
later.
Can't wait.
Yeah. On the BTI pre-show, George Iceman made a big announcement that Kushida was making his return at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view.
No,
So there you go. And
cool.
then they went right into Giselle Shaw versus Kylan King, or is it Keelan or Kylan?
Kylan.
Kylan. Giselle Shaw won. Kylan is kind of doing her jobber stuff here, but she looked pretty good. I
Jobs a
didn't
lot of
watch it.
places.
Yeah.
Kylan jobs a lot of places. Hey, Kushida wasn't on Wrestle Kingdom. He hasn't been doing a lot in New Japan.
No, remember he had hand, foot, and mouth for a while, and then he
Oh,
was just like
yeah, that's
off
right.
TV, but looks like he's coming back.
I forgot about the hand, foot, and mouth.
Yeah,
That's a
but
horrible thing to have, by the way. You ever see someone that has that? That's terrible.
one of my airmen is currently out of work because of that. He has it.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
30 some odd year old guy has it. It actually gets worse as you get older.
Ooh.
So it's terrible for kids, but it's really bad for adults. They go through the ringer when they get it. So,
Well,
and that was talking BTI. Thank you, folks. Thank you for talking BTI with us.
and talking hand, foot, and mouth.
And hand, foot, and mouth. All right, we're gonna go to the main show. First matchup: Taylor Wilde defeated Masha Slamovich.
What?
Yes. Which a woman, Taylor Wilde, Miss Cleo herself, defeated Masha Slamovich. Masha was distracted by Deonna Purrazzo, and Taylor got the roll up for a distraction finish. And then after the match, Masha no-sold everything and beat the shit out of some security guards because she was pissed. So.
It's cowardly. It's cowardly shit. Justin Barrasso looking like a fool, putting her on his top 10.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think this hurt Slamovich one bit. I think
No.
they're just trying to make Taylor Wilde seem somewhat credible because they got a new gimmick here. I would not have done this, by the way. I would not have beat Masha in a
Kylie
cheesy ass
King's
way.
Kylie King was on BTI.
She's
She's
right
right
there.
there. Like,
Well, but Taylor and Masha and Deanna and now Killer Kelly are doing a 4-way match at Hard to Kill. So they're just trying to
I'm
get
sorry,
them
what?
to intermingle. They're doing a
Sorry.
4-way match at Hard to Kill. So they
Oh, I'm
got to
sorry. Sorry.
intermingle a little bit.
You said Killer Kelly, and my brain went somewhere else. Sorry. I
Boing.
heard a 4-way with Killer Kelly, and I just, what? Huh? What? Huh? Sorry. I'm back. I'm canceled.
But the match was actually pretty good. I didn't really care for the finish because
Because it's
a bit
awful. It's the worst
it's a
finish in
cheesy
professional wrestling ever.
a
The
distraction finish
roll
roll
up.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's coward. You know what I hate about it is it's so cowardly. It's such a
Yeah.
cowardly finish, and we see it everywhere. Not here, not just WWE, not just AEW. They don't do it in New Japan, luckily. But I mean, like it's a virus, man. Much like hand, foot, and mouth. It needs
Yeah.
to be eradicated. I hate it.
Sam McCallahan cut a promo talking about how he kept getting beat down by the design, so he was going to get his
Did.
answer tonight. About he still wants to join them. That's the story. He still I don't know what's going on with this guy.
You guys kicked my ass last week. I want more. I need me some more of that. Let me in.
Yeah. So, but they don't want him apparently. And then we cut to Rich Swann challenging Steve Macklin to Falls Count Anywhere match at Hard to Kill. So that should be good. Dig that. Yeah. And the next, I thought maybe match of the night for me. I don't know. There was a couple good matches on the show, but I think this one might have been the match of the night for me. Black Taurus defeated Retro Anthony Green. Anthony Green making his debut here, former NXT star. He had worked some New Japan Strong. He was also in the Noah N1 tournament this year and had a pretty strong outing there. Our friend Justin's a big fan of his, but I really enjoyed this match. Taurus hit a torch rack backbreaker and then hit Destination Hellhole for the win. The finish was brutal and fantastic, says our friend Josiah McDonald. So good stuff. They're building up Black Taurus because he's got a title shot against Trey Miguel, who in fact attacked Black Taurus after the match. So
lots of shenanigans. It sounds like on this show.
Well, they're building up Hard to Kill, man. So we got to get these. He actually attacked. He attacked Anthony Green on the apron, and then spray painted his back.
How did Anthony Green look?
I thought he looked really good. Yeah. He could be somebody, and they. Obviously they're not ready to push him because they got him losing in his first match, but he's just gonna be a guy that's gonna work his way up. So
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I dig him.
That matters a lot less here, I feel like, than in other places. Right? Losing right away. Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And then next we go to Kenny King. He's on location in Montreal, in Mike Bailey's dojo, and he walked in there and beat up all of Mike Bailey's students.
Wow, Mike Bailey's students suck.
Yeah, there's a lot of them there, and one of them was like a 12-year-old boy, and he kicked his ass. It was
That's awesome. Like then, Seinfeld.
Yeah, and then another one. There was a female trainee, and then King is actually getting ready to beat her up, and there's this huge dude. Looks like he plays offensive line in the NFL, just standing there watching, and then he waits until Kenny King has her picked up, and then he starts to try to step in, and then Kenny King throws the girl at him and knocks him over, and then he beats that guy up too. So yeah, he whooped all their asses.
That doesn't say much for Speedball as a teacher. I'll say that.
Yeah,
but I do like the segment. But if all of your students get trashed by Kenny King, you probably kind of suck as a teacher.
Yeah. And then they cut to Mike Bailey, and Mike Bailey, this is Josiah's words here, and I'm going to go stronger on what Josiah is saying here. But Mike Bailey cut a decent promo here, challenging Kenny King to a pit fight match at Hard to Kill. So basically, they're going to take off all the ropes. It's going to be a blood sport match, so no ropes. They're going to tape, and it's either knockout or submission. Kenny King and Mike Bailey. I'm going to say something controversial here. Not counting his in-ring stuff, this is the best thing Mike Bailey's ever done.
Wow.
Yeah, hands down, best thing I've ever seen Mike Bailey do outside of wrestling, like actually performing moves. But
this
great. Is it's the most interesting he's ever been. He was actually legitimately pissed here, and cut a heartfelt promo, and they kept it to like 7 seconds. It was good, straight to the point. Yeah.
That's what he's. Well, that's fine. I've been asking for the last couple months now is to do something like with some stakes with Speedball. Give me a reason to care about Speedball. I
Yeah.
like this. I'm on
You should check
board.
it out. One of our homies actually tagged us in it on Twitter. So I wants to know what we think about it. So JD, definitely check it out because
I
I thought
will.
this was great.
Here's a question. I know Speedball can definitely work a blood sports style match. Can
Yeah.
Kenny King? There's
I
nothing I've seen nothing in Kenny King's career that leads me to believe he can do the Josh Barnett stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he trains out of Las Vegas. Maybe he's done some of that MMA style training there. Who knows? But the only thing I've ever seen him do, me personally, the only thing I've ever watched him do myself was, wrestle in Chippendales. That was a joke, by the way. No.
Just, I'm like, where am I going to go with this? How do I not get in trouble? How do I not get fired by Garrett? That's kudos. I don't know. I like the idea. I do really like this idea of them doing like this because again, the blood sports stuff is really good when you have two guys that get MMA and pro wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
because there's some good stuff, and then sometimes it looks like worked MMA, which is not. It's not good. If it worked MMA, kind of sucks. But like
Yeah.
pro wrestling with some MMA elements can be really, really good. Like if you're listening to the show, you never watched any of the Josh Barnett's blood sport stuff. I highly recommend going back and checking some of that stuff out. Moxley did some really good stuff with it. Josh did a little bit of it. Do you remember that Josh match with Davey Boy?
Suzuki. Well, he did the Davey Boy match, but the Suzuki match is the one everybody needs to go check
That's
out.
the good one. The Suzuki one is not, or sorry, the Davey Boy one I was not super impressed with, but I thought the Suzuki one was really good.
You know who Davey Boy had a really good match on Bloodsport with, and you're going to be shocked that I'm about to tell you this.
Refresh my memory. I don't remember off the top of
It
my
was
head.
Killer Cross. I don't know.
I do remember that.
They had a really good, and because Killer Cross has that MMA background, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just never really, his MMA stuff doesn't really hit the way he does it. It doesn't translate well to pro wrestling. But
I
when they did Bloodsport, I thought he actually did pretty well with Davey Boy. And they hit each other hard.
I do remember. And then that's when he cut the promo asking Dave Bautista to come out of retirement. Like that's honestly the best I've ever felt Killer. I do remember this now. This is like three years ago, I think. That was actually the best I think Killer Cross has ever looked, to be quite honest with you. Because in WWE, he's all just, gaga.
He's an entrance and then whack ass matches because it doesn't translate to WWE style. It really doesn't.
Which is odd, and nobody else wants him. Right. Yeah. And WWE pushes him. Like Triple H loves the guy. I don't know why. I liked his blood sports stuff. I remember Justin messaged me. He goes, "You have to watch this." I'm like, I don't want to watch Killer Cross. Because again, I'd seen him in Impact and I was never really a big fan. And he's like, "No, you got to watch this, trust me." So I did, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is actually pretty damn good." And then he cut a really good promo afterwards, too. I'm like, Dave Bautista's never working blood sport. But I thought it was cool. And then since then it's been, what it is. But yeah, I highly recommend it. Bloodsport's cool. I hope Impact can do right by it.
Yeah, me too. Next we go to Jonathan Gresham. He beat up local job talent Ernest R. Anthony. What a name, Ernie R. Anthony. But he beat his ass pretty quick. Did all his favorite submissions and then pulled the leg so far back that it pinned the shoulders of Anthony to the mat. So there you go. Did a lot of cool stuff.
I wonder if that's that dude's real name, because that sounds like one of those job guy names they put on like superstars for guys. Like that's a wild ass name. I'm glad.
Who was it?
Okay,
who was a promoter that had the job guy named Davey Meltzer?
That would be one Bill Watts.
Bill Watts, and then there's another one that had Mark Meltzer too. I thought. I think that might have been the UWF guy after.
That would have been Herb Abrams.
Herb Abrams, yeah.
Those Meltzers had lots of UWF matches. Yes. Bill Watts. The funny part is Bill Watts was a subscriber to the Observer, so
of course, and then used to talk to him all the time,
constantly. But then he would get mad when Dave would say things he didn't like. So nothing's changed, really. No. But that does sound like a bullshit job guy name, so I kind of like it. I'm glad Gresham's here, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I you know what? I think this is the right spot for him.
Me too. I agree 100%.
Yeah. Yep. Next we go.
That Cruiserweight Classic thing's probably not going to happen.
Nope. That's out the window now. Steels and Evans were talking backstage about how they lost to the Deaf Dolls. They were kind of pissing and moaning there, and then all of a sudden, her music kicked on, which was funny because they were in the backstage. But Giselle Shaw showed up with Jay Vidal.
It works
And
there.
yeah, and then they Giselle Shaw was trying to convince them that they all need to be a team, but Steels says every team you've ever been a part of is broken up now. Why would I want you to be on our team? And she basically said, "Well, do the math. They have three, you have two. If you add me and Jay, we have one up on them." And so then they huddled around to try to figure out how they're going to work this out. But I like that Steels is not that stupid. She's like, "No, you suck at this."
Sometimes I feel like Tasha is like, you know, like the character in the movie that realizes they're in the movie and is like trying to reason with things. This Tasha's done this a couple times where I'm like, yeah, she's right. Like, I like the consistency with the character. Tasha's great.
Yeah.
You got a message?
Um,
You're looking at notes. You look like
no, I
you got
got a
something.
message from Garrett. He was wanting to know if we were recording, so let him
Oh,
know we're a little bit late, boss. Sorry.
sorry.
Yeah. Then we go to the design. They cut a promo with Diener saying that Callahan's journey to become one of the design starts next week when they shave his head. I get the feeling this is a trap. So there you
Well,
go.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna complain. How many times have we seen the shave the head thing with the cults? Right?
The
Eh,
second the straight edge society with
it's a straight
Serena
society.
Deeb and
Yeah,
yeah.
and then AEW tried to like redo the whole thing completely with Brandy Rhodes, and I feel like we've seen it somewhere else too. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. They should like cut
Well,
his
we
head
saw
or
it
something.
here. We saw it here. They
We
shaved
did see
Diener's
it
head.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Eric
right. They
Young
did shave Diener's head. I'm not crazy.
uh,
Yeah.
Eric Young did not even try to shave Joe Doring's head. Joe's like, "Fuck you! I'm not even taking off my hat." So
Joe's like, I gotta skull it. I'm keeping the
yeah,
skullet. And
Joe
Eric's like,
should
okay.
have shaved his head, honestly, but he was like, "You're not touching it."
You're a Texan with hair like that, and nobody tells you what to do.
No, no. And then they had a fantastic hype video for Josh Alexander about how he was now the longest reigning Impact champion of all time. They really did a good job, JD. You need to go ahead out of your way to check this one out.
That
Good.
I love Impact video packages. Okay.
Oh,
Definitely.
this was what the first of two or three amazing ones that they did tonight.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and they're all on Twitter. The full segments are on Twitter. Just go to the Impact Twitter page and they'll pop right up. So,
Done.
yeah, Moose entered the ring to cut a promo on Joe Hendry. Moose said that he was going to do bad things to Joe, as about people started chanting what. And then Moose said that Hendry was only positive because he's never faced adversity, and he was going to bring that to him because he would do anything to be number one in Impact Wrestling. And then he said the only way he was going to get Joe Hendry, he wanted Joe Hendry right now. So he said that he had to say his name. And as soon as he said say his name, Hendry appeared with his theme song
Of
and
course.
said that the real Moose was misunderstood. The real Moose was a fun-loving guy, not a scumbag, somebody people could love. And said, to prove that, I have made a song for you, Moose. And I've made you new entrance music. So to the theme of Joe Hendry's song, Joe Hendry wrote a song called Dancin' Moose, with little videos of Moose doing different dances from his babyface days in Impact and some of his earlier heel stuff. It was really, really funny. The fans actually got really into it. They started chanting Dancing Moose," while Moose was getting pissed around ringside doing the old school heel stuff, telling them to shut up. And they're gonna have a match at Hard to Kill. And then as Moose is about to leave, he's like, "All right, I'm out of here now. Hit my real music." And then of course they hit Dancing Moose again, the theme song, and they played it again. So it was good stuff. If you like old school heel comedy, this is fantastic.
That is great. There's
Yeah.
just okay, there's something about the Joe Hendry character, and I think it's just his own personal charisma. That stuff that would be stupid with another person works. And that's just about being a performer and having comedic timing, right? Because
Hmm.
two guys tell a joke, it can be hilarious with one and terrible with another just because of their timing. And Joe Hendry has this unique charisma and this impeccable comedic timing. So
Hmm.
that's great. I'm so glad he's back.
Yeah. And then the second amazing video of the night was a promo video of Mickey James recapping basically her whole career in a nutshell. I think it was like 10 minutes, honestly. They did a really good job. And the guy that actually did it, he is a documentary guy. He posted about it on Impact or on Twitter, and Impact retweeted it. So the guy's got a lot of talent. He actually even talked about the equipment that he used. So JD, you probably like that. I put that in the BFI chat there. So everybody
Ooh,
go take a look at that. But talked about how she trained, her early days in TNA, being paired up with CM Punk and Raven Julio De Niro, and then heading to WWE and her story with Trish Stratus, and then coming back and to TNA and doing her whole hardcore country thing. So, and then she goes in to talk about how she met Nick Aldis and all that stuff. So really, really good stuff. They're basically they're making it seem like they're putting a bow on Mickey James's career, which is going to make the swerve that I've written, the swerve that I'm calling for, all the much better.
The Gathering, was that the
Yeah,
Flog?
yeah,
Yeah, I
I
couldn't
think
remember
it
the name.
was.
Yeah. Cool. I love these things. I love It's the one thing that always bums about AEW because they don't have the history to do these kind of awesome video packages that Impact, which has been around for 20 years, does have the access to all this old stuff. WWE could do things like this, but they choose not to because,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, if it happened 2 years ago, it's like it happened in another universe in that company. Like, history is great. I love these kind of things. I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, and our buddy Josiah said James talked about how she met Nick Aldis for the first time,
Uh,
which seems like they may be bringing him in with the timing of this. Oh,
oh,
well, guess who's a free?
Josiah listens to the show. He's cribbing notes. Come on, man.
Yeah, I ain't mad at you.
No, I appreciate it actually.
Yeah. Well, and the first guy that actually said the idea out loud, although I had the idea, I was waiting for our show to bust it out, but was Gerard, and he's been telling everybody about it too. So I think a lot of us are on the same page. It makes
Because
total sense to just
it's
turn her
right
heel.
there.
Yeah, you
It's
got to.
right there. Yeah, I want to see it. I'm the more I think about it, the more excited I get for what's coming. So
Yeah. So they cut to that, and then I think if you're watching on Access, you had probably had a 3-minute commercial break. But for those of us on YouTube, which is how I watched, they cut right into the Don West tribute video, and they did about a 3 to 4 minute tribute video
awesome.
with Gail Kim, Moose, Eddie Edwards, a lot of people from the roster. Chris Harris was even on it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. Really, really sad. Brothers get choked up a little bit watching that. So that's one of the ones. Lots of cool footage of Don West and some featuring some of his greatest calls. So that was awesome, man. Good
That's
stuff.
great.
They did a great job, a great tribute to Don. So
You know what's cool is Don got love too on both the other shows. I know Michael Cole and Excalibur are
yeah,
both talking about him. That's pretty cool, man. Impact doesn't get the love from the mainstream, but got to show love for Don. I'm happy. I'm happy for that.
I was really happy that Michael Cole did that.
Me
Like
too.
Excalibur would be expected.
Yeah.
Michael Cole doing that, it just makes it seem like, you know what, Michael Cole is the most famous guy in the field right now just because he's on the biggest show. He's on
Mhm.
SmackDown. I mean, Jim Ross is probably the most famous, but Michael Cole is kind of the voice of the biggest company in
WWE.
the world
Yeah.
right now,
It has
WWE,
been.
and and has for a long time. And
Mhm.
for him to do something like that, I thought was really cool. So kudos to him. He's doing since Vince left, Michael Cole's been a lot better from the premium live events that I've been watching of WWE. He's been great. And anytime I hear him and Pat McAfee, they always do a really good job. So
Good chemistry.
um, yeah, Wade Barrett, I think, is doing SmackDown now, but McAfee should be back soon. So, next match we got Chris Sabin defeating Matt Cardona. So this was a good match. Probably match number 2, my second favorite match of the night. Not really much to it. I just Chris Sabin's great, and so is Cardona. So they did all kinds of heel stuff, interference stuff. But Chris Sabin got the cradle shock on Cardona for the pinfall here. So good stuff.
Matt Cardona probably should rethink a lot of his decisions.
Hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
Impact doesn't look so bad after all, Matt
Mm,
Cardona. Mm,
no. I think that if he was going back, he might want to rethink that strategy a little bit,
mm.
and maybe Impact should really make the guy a deal. I think they that he could be a guy for this company, man.
Been
So
saying it for a year, if not
yeah.
longer, right? Chelsea, I think, will be just fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she got fired before, but I think she got fired by Papa H, didn't she?
She got fired by Papa H.
Yeah.
She did not. I don't know if Vince has ever actually looked at Chelsea. So
Well,
I think
she did do one SmackDown match, and it was I just remember it vividly because I was doing my column at the time, and she'd come on to SmackDown, and the entrance that she did was the entire Tessa Blanchard entrance. She did every mannerism that Tessa
really.
was using at Impact at the time. Yeah, so it
Well,
pissed
I
a lot
didn't
of people
realize
off.
that. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
That's funny. I think that.
but
Well, actually, I think Chelsea's grown a lot in the 2 years
yeah,
she's been gone. I actually think that old pervert will be quite fond of her stuff now.
yeah. As the announcers are trying to run down the card to Hard to Kill, and we still had 12 minutes left in the show at this point. Bully Ray came down. He showed up, and he was supposed to be at home. He had been sent home by Scott D'Amore, but Bully Ray doesn't have to listen.
Nobody
Guess who did?
does.
Guess who did listen? Josh
Gosh,
Alexander went home
of
like a good
course,
little boy.
he's
Yeah.
the only person that has to follow any rules in this show whatsoever. Cody
Yeah,
Deaner killed a man.
yeah. He came down, he yelled at Tom Hannafin, and he yelled at people around ringside. He called out Josh Alexander, knowing that Josh wasn't there. So Scott D'Amore came down to the ring, and D'Amore. So this was very interesting. While D'Amore was talking, they sweetened the crowd. They actually started using they piped in some crowd noise, and then they really piped it in while Bully Ray was talking, because you could look around ringside, ain't nobody saying nothing. So they just piped in the crowd noise, which I appreciate. But D'Amore said that D'Amore said that he brought Bully Ray back, because he was hoping he was a changed man, and because people had taken multiple chances on him, he thought he would do the same thing for Bully Ray. But he said he was wrong, and that Devon didn't even want to be in the same room with him unless someone gave him a ton of money. That's true. So D'Amore alienated everyone that had faith in him, including Tommy Dreamer, and that Bully Ray was going to die alone, a lonely man, a sad, lonely man. And it was actually a really good promo from D'Amore. This is probably the best thing that he's done in the company in a long, long time.
Scott is a good promo when motivated.
He is. Ray then said that he wouldn't leave sad or pathetic. He'd be the Impact World Champion. And then they just traded insults, slapping the mic out of each other's hand. And then D'Amore spit at him, and then Bully Ray said, "Why don't you hit me? Why don't you hit me?" So D'Amore then hit him. And because D'Amore's the boss, Bully Ray sold the fuck out of that punch. Just flew back into the corner and all this, and sold it like he had gotten shot in the face or got hit by Mike Tyson. But he sprang back up, and then Skyler and Hotch hit the ring. They held D'Amore's arms. And Bully Ray kicked him in the stomach, and then power bombed him through a table. So they did the whole Dixie spot. So and then Ray claimed that he'd be the next world champion as we went off the air.
A power bomb through a table with Bully Ray?
Yeah,
Whoa.
they really switched it up on us.
Whoa, spooky. Who saw that coming? Everybody. I hate this so much. I know I didn't watch it, but like in my mental window, I saw that. I know exactly how it played out, and I hate it.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, why would they turn Bully Ray babyface by having a powerbomb D'Amore through a table? Because that's a babyface move to me.
Why is the only person that ever listens to Scott D'Amore Josh Alexander? And why does Josh listen? He's the only freaking person that listens to Scott D'Amore on this show. I don't understand it.
But overall, it was a pretty solid episode of Impact. I encourage, if you guys did not get a chance to watch it, like a JD, I'd encourage you to go check it out. Probably don't need to see the last 12 minutes of it.
Nope.
Impact put like the final 2 minutes of it showing D'Amore getting powerbombed through a table. That's all you need to see there. Although D'Amore, I got to give credit to the boss man. D'Amore did cut a pretty good promo leading up to that moment, but it went a bit long for my taste. I felt, and I think this storyline has gone on too long, and I'm excited for it to be over with.
Can't wait. I hope Josh just beats the tar out of him. We never see Bully Ray again.
And then we move on to bigger and better things, and we are going to move on to Patreon. So if you want to hear some more exclusive audio and some excess content, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I sent JD all the notes. We got some more stuff coming up. So head over to patreon.com/fightgamemedia for more, and we are out.